Hey, I'm Dr. Brett, and I'm here with Martha Whitty, and she's going to ask me some questions on life and business. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Awesome.
Doing well, thanks. I wanted to talk to you today about balance. Just in terms of working towards one's, say, personal goals for yourself in an environment that's full of distractions, some toxicity, and just how you balance that and still keep moving forward.
Well, I'd love to help people develop more self-awareness. And what does that mean? Is you slow down and you get more conscious of your choices in life instead of just doing things automatically, like on autopilot. A lot of people are just kind of like, feeling a little bit overwhelmed or doing so much with their life, squeezing so many things in, and they don't slow down enough to make a conscious choice about what do I really want to experience here. And when you slow down like that, sometimes you go, you know what, I'm not going to go out tonight, or I'm not going to say yes to this friend because it really doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't add anything.
Right.
So we're slowing you down and getting more conscious of what you really want to experience. And sometimes that means that you just kind of hang, and spend more time with you. And that gives you a sense of balance.
In some ways, though, I mean, if you're an uber extrovert like I am,
yeah, totally.
how do you, if that's the first step to slow down, how do you get comfortable with that when the social nature is so much of your identity?
Yeah, no, this is a great question, because this morning I was working with somebody who's an uber introvert, and what I'm trying to do with her is get her to be a little bit more external so she can make more things happen in the world. And so it's almost the opposite with extroverts. You want to slow them down and actually teach them how to do things like meditate and breathe and things that actually get them a little bit less external so that we find a better balance, right? Because if you're too external, then you might be attracted to an introvert because you haven't developed that side of you, right? And if you're too introverted, you might be attracted to an extrovert. When if you're more balanced, then you can actually attract somebody and other people, friends and lovers and so on in your life that are more balanced, and then the relationships get better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting because, the other thing too is to kind of how do you kind of slow it down and be more present?
That's exactly it though.
Right.
Be more present, which means less distracted. So what does that mean? There are little techniques like using your breath that can actually get you more in the here and now. When you spend more time in nature, you tend to get a little bit more in the here and now, if not a lot more so, right? You can consciously practice mindfulness by eating a little bit slower, or walking a little slower, or even talking a little slower, right? So you can play with life a little bit, but only if you're conscious of wanting to do that, right? A lot of people are just living this thing because no one really taught them how to do it any differently. And so what we're talking about is going, okay, what do I want to experience here? If I'm too outgoing, it's great socially, but it doesn't leave me a lot of downtime. So, right, and the downtime is restorative or regenerative, right? Like it makes us feel better sometimes.
Well, one of the things that you've talked about before is just kind of creating, your dream and your path, and really kind of working towards that.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're talking about here too, right? Is slow it down, be a little more mindful, and figure out what really is the.
Yeah. If you're always saying yes and going out every night, let's just say you're going out 6 or 7 nights a week, and which is cool in the sense that you're interacting with the world, but you might not have any downtime to actually decide, well, what is it that I really want? Or is there something that I can create that's different than what I'm experiencing now? And if you don't spend the time and, put together a little structure for creating that, a lot of times these things don't happen.
So the balance is actually the ability to say no.
Sometimes, yeah, absolutely.
To some opportunities, right?
Sometimes, a lot of times you have to say no. Like when my girlfriend traveled a couple weeks ago on business, I was with the 2 dogs, and I spent the week, a lot of that week, I didn't just fill in. I'm pretty outgoing now too, and I kind of just filled it in with people that, it would have been nice, but I actually like the downtime because I'm working on a novel, and I want to do more reading, and if I'm going to do this project right, I actually need that downtime in order to, to be more creative. If I just fill it in with people,
Right.
that might be okay, but it's not going to help me create what I really want.
But how do you manage the
Yeah.
expectations then of other people? Because the expectations, say, of somebody like me that's constantly saying yes. How do you?
Well, you're going to gradually start to say no more, and the hard part is you're going to take some flack from your environment, right? People are going to give you some flack because all of a sudden you're not always available, or all of a sudden you're saying no and you don't want to necessarily do things. So you're going to practice being okay with other people being upset or disappointed or frustrated with you. You're going to practice being okay with that.
Right.
Because you have a greater picture now. There are other things that you want to experience, and it's not going to happen if you keep saying yes, yes, yes.
But if the activities that you do and the things that are in your life really require all those other people, what you're talking
Well, that's the
about
balance that you brought up earlier.
Right.
Right. The challenge is if work requires you to be crazy outgoing, how do you find that balance? Well, if you burn yourself out, right? If you're too outgoing, you might wind up feeling depleted because it doesn't necessarily mean that people are giving back, right? A lot of times you can be interacting with people and they're too self-absorbed even though you kind of like them. And then you wind up feeling a little bit depleted. And so that's why you're going to say no to certain situations now going forward, because they really don't fit as you grow, right? As you change and evolve as a person, what you want to experience changes, and then we have to make some changes in terms of who we're saying yes and who we're not, even if it affects our business a little bit.
Right. And even and that takes a lot of courage too.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, it takes a lot of courage to go on a journey that may change who's in your life.
Exactly. And when I talk about courage, I basically am talking about, it's not that you don't have fear. Courage is basically that we have fear, we just do it anyway. And so that's what we're looking at, is having a little bit more courage here to do things differently without knowing where they're going to take us. But the cool thing is, the more you do things differently, the more stimulation you get. And a lot of people are lacking stimulation. They're bored, or their lives are really routine, and that's why you see, part of the reason you see so much addiction. People are turning to drugs, alcohol, porn, internet, shopping, all this stuff,
Right.
when they really need to make some fundamental changes.
Right.
Awesome.
Very good.
Thank you.